basically is just about impossible, because in the real estate business, it's just about impossible for me to do in a business. You know, I had to come up here and see Dan personally and say, Dan, look, I'm going to give my books away for free. I'd just like to have a group be happy. Somebody be happy. Can I give them everything for free and promise I'm not going to sell anything? And if they want to call me, they can. And now today, let's just say anybody in here wanted to make money, and you had money. You would normally just see me. No. Now, you'd see me and Dan, or you'd see me and Bob, the guy from the other real estate group. Why? Because these two guys are similar. They're like engineering types, you know? Methodical, analytical, systematic, versus door-to-door vinyl siding sales. But just because that's my background doesn't mean we can't capitalize on that logic, that philosophy, and simmer it or modify it, right? Because let's face it, when I would meet with somebody, typically what I would do is I'd say a few questions. I'd say, hey, what's the most money you ever netted in 12 months? And you'd say something like 80 or 100 or 200 grand, right? And then the first thing I would simply say is, so you've never learned how to make money. Because if you're making 10 times that person's income, they haven't learned how to make money because they never hit 7 figures. And the logic was, you were getting paid for what you did versus for who you are. See the difference? This program right here, Dan's getting paid for who he is. Meaning, not just physically what he knows, but who he is because he doesn't burn bridges. Because he is thinking about you. Because he is looking long term. That's called intellectual capital. He just doesn't know how to make any money from it yet. And he might not really care. Because he's happy at, at being at this income. And even though, let's say he makes $250,000 a year, he's in the top 95%, right? In other words, 95% of the people in the country make less than him. So he's in the top 5%. But man, there's a huge difference between 250 and 2.5 and 10 million and then beyond. But not everybody has the drive for that. Well, now I have the drive to add a comma to my income. Well, one of the books that I wrote for my mentors talks about the beginning stages of anything. It takes so much longer the bigger you're building something. So if you're going to build a building, you have to dig a hole, right? The bigger the hole, the taller the building, right? So if you want to build a big building, you got to build a big hole. So one of the reasons I'm here.
My building's going to be big. I'm in a deep hole.
What's that?
My building's going to be big.
Well, there you go.
I'm in a deep hole right now.
Well, think of it. It's like think about football. You know, you punt the ball, and you think, and somebody would say they're giving up the ball, but actually they're advancing the ball down the field. All you got to do is get it back. And anybody that's ever made money and lost it knows exactly the same thing. You've done it before. You guys have done deals. You're in trouble. You got a property that's upside down. You know, you don't say to yourself, "Oh, there's no way people are going to do this," because what you got to do is find a way that benefits both parties, not just you. If you got somebody that's in trouble in a property, well, what can you do? You say, "Oh man, you're in trouble. You got a $500,000 home with a $750,000 mortgage. What are you going to do?"
Run.
Well, you could run. That's one thing you could do. Or you could find a way to say, let's see what we could do here. And you start to think of other choices. And lease purchase becomes another choice. Somebody could move into that home, and eventually that home will go up. As we all know, I mean, it's not going to end. It's not over. I mean, everybody, that you're here, so you already know it's not over. It just sucks right now. And this actually is good. Because it sure helps you to reevaluate who you are, what you want, what your philosophies are, and it cleans out a lot of the muck, right? Dan was talking earlier about realtors and how there's a lot less of them now, or some gentleman was, was you, yeah? And it got rid of the people that were just in it for a quick buck. You know, the way I used to be. I mean, you want somebody who's in it for the long term. That's who you want to affiliate with, right? And that's the beauty of these groups, because their intent is to educate. There's no reason why they can't make a buck, but their intent is to make everybody happy. I didn't have that intent before. But if you want something that's ongoing, it's the intent you have to have. And just because you're in a business that requires you to capitalize on an opportunity, doesn't mean you still can't capitalize and leave some of it in for the next person. You don't have to extract every dollar. Whereas for me, I'd sell it for $1 over whatever they'd appraise. You know, hey, well, why is that house worth $500 and mine's not worth $590? Why? Somebody has to be the house that's worth $590. Why can't it be mine? I mean, think about it. When you buy a property, you get it appraised, right? And it's subject to the other sales. Somebody, out of the three that they use, right, one of them is more expensive than the other two, right? So why couldn't that be mine? I mean, it sounds funny, but why can't it be mine? So I would do everything I could to try to get that to be mine. Now, I'd rather close faster, get my money out of the deal, have the person happy, have them tell somebody else. The person we bought it from might tell somebody else. Man, I never thought of that before. And my sisters are still married to their husband, my brother's still married to his wife, and Dan's still happy, and you know, that's the thing. So which one do you want? Well, what I want to try to do is to marry my philosophy with his. And that's what I'm in the process of trying to do. So if anybody wants to go after it, and you weren't afraid of the risk of dealing with me, we would be dealing with somebody else. So if it's somebody from this group, what I would do is I would enlist Dan to basically be a manager of the relationship. So let's say we're working together. He says, all right, listen, the most I ever made was 90 grand. I've got X amount of dollars and this and this and this. Here's my situation. What I'd like to do is to make enough money so I can quit my job, and I'd like to double or triple my income. Here's the things that I've got. What can I do? So instead of me then giving him a list of what to do, I'd get together with Dan. I'd say, okay, look, can you consult on this? And why would he say no? He's going to protect his member, right? And if we can do this, there's no reason why I wouldn't split with him half of everything that I make. Now, why would I do that?
It'll bring you more.
What's that?
It'll bring you more.
Because it'll bring me more, right? Plus, then he's for sure happy, and he's for sure happy. And all you got to do in this business is have somebody say, well, one thing's for sure, you're going to be happy. And really, that's it. And what did you say you wanted on a return on money? 6%, 8%? People are happy with that. And anybody that buys and sells property knows that finding somebody with money that's happy with that return is the key to life, right? Because if you've got cash in today's market and you can't make money, then you're never going to be able to make money. Because cash is king right now. And on top of that, knowledge, right? Somebody knows somebody, and they connect. And they're only going to say, hey, you should go talk to this person if you're the type of person that is the same way in return. So, again, what caused me to change? I was forced to change. I didn't have a choice. I'm still fighting off that. I mean, I had 52 years of believing that philosophy. I mean, think of it like a person that believes in our government, and they fought battles, and then they realized that war has nothing to do with anything except finances. What happens to that person? They're completely disenchanted in the way they used to think. They got to now have a new way of thinking, which is, hey, it's the best that's out there, our government's the best that's out there, and if I knew of a better place, I'd go, this is the best place. What are you going to do, piss and moan about it? But really, when it comes down to it, I spoke at a retired generals conference last year, and I got all the military, all the medals, right? And the first thing I do when I get up there, they say, so what do you guys say to the people that basically say you orchestrated 911 as a government in order to get the budget you needed to be able to do what it is you're doing now? And that's the first thing I said. Now, you already know that half of them were asleep, so they didn't even hear it. And the other half barely moved. But the point is that there are totally different and polarized opposing forces in everything. Real estate, philosophy, religion, government, right? And same thing with the transactions. The key is that when somebody has a home for sale or for rent, or you're going to buy it in order to make money, the key is to have a different way of thinking than you had before, if you want to increase your income. So to me, the change of perspective is what's vital to make more money. Not necessarily how do I do a better deal, but how do I approach the deal? Because there's a lot of deals that are available if the approach is different. So when somebody would call up for a home for rent, and I would ask him about a lease purchase, he would feel that I'm going to be describing it to him instead of trying to knock on his door, sell him $8,000 worth of siding, or else get physically thrown out of his house. You know, there's some places where you go